What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video here on the channel. Now, I want to give you a quick update on what's happening in the crypto market because we are seeing some pretty important bounces happening, and there's something you need to be aware of. And so with that said, let's not waste any more time at all, and let's get straight into the video. Now, looking at the overall crypto market, things are looking pretty damn decent on the day. Of course, on the day, you can see certain things like ORDI, Ondo, Core, AGIX, FET, Jupe, all of these ones holding up pretty well. Not huge gains from our ones in our top 10, right? You can see like XRP doing okay, like rather decently. And then of course you have like Renders and MKR and Caspa and some of these other ones doing decently, but overall not bad. Bitcoin around 1%. So a decent day to say the least. Now, we've not really seen this kind of this green day, what's the right word I'm looking for? Maybe like overcome the challenges that have been presented over the last week and over the last month. As of course you can see that we are still majoritively incredibly red across the altcoin market on the month and incredibly red across the weekly charts. Now, overall though, with that said, there is something that is happening while we are seeing this green day, as I mentioned before, that you need to be aware of. So let's kind of talk about that. So what you can see here is that as we are now starting to see this market flipping somewhat green, we're starting to see something happening that is called a retest across multiple different cryptos in multiple different areas. Okay, but let's just talk about Bitcoin, for example, so you can start to get an idea of what this looks like. So what we're seeing here, it's not even really a retest. It's more of like a support test, right? Because a retest is more when you return to a level. A support test is more whenever you're actually trying to see if a support level is going to hold or not. And what I've come to realize is that the majority of my cryptos, right? Bitcoin, Solana, we have Jasmy, we have Render, we have Ethereum, we have Hedera, Litecoin, Link, etc. Right? What's happening is that all of them have quite recently just hit a macro level of support, and they're trying to see if support is going to hold or not. And that's what's interesting about this. They're trying to see if support is going to hold or not. And the good thing about that is that even if it does not hold, right? Because you and I know we set out this $64.8 thousand level well before we were down here. We based it off of these previous points of resistance and support that we saw on this liquidity level here. And the fact that Bitcoin is now trying to hold this level of support is actually a good sign. Now, there's two ways that this is going to go. One, we're going to see support hold and Bitcoin is going to continue upwards. Obviously, that's a good thing. The second option is that Bitcoin's price is not going to hold, but we did get a bullish confirmation to some degree. Now, the bullish confirmation that we get, even if Bitcoin's price does this at this given point, is that the bulls are willing to step in at key levels of support. And that's all we need to see during bull markets. What you have to understand is that a bull market over the long term will go up. It's just how this thing works, okay? And so all we need to know is that the bulls are there, that they're willing, and that they're ready to step in, and that although they're not stepping in as much as we need them to, they're still around. Because of course we're going to see these moments where the bears step in. Of course we're going to see these moments where the market's pulling back and cooling down. Of course that's fine. It just is what it is. That's what happens. But I need to know that the bulls are still around, and once we get these types of confirmations like we're seeing right now, then that kind of makes it, you know, I'm further confirmed that in a moment like this where we came down to a key level of liquidity, that we were able to find some degree of support and then use that to test back up to the upside. So even if we don't hold right here, still seeing that we saw support is a very good sign. And we're seeing that across the majority of our cryptos. We see it on Bitcoin. We can see on Solana the fact that its price is holding some support here. Now, it's not to say that it's going to hold the support forever, but even if it does this, the fact that we went sideways here is a good sign, because in this micro tiny little level of support, the bulls were willing to step in. Same thing with Jasmy. If we look at Jasmy's starting to retest back towards this key point of resistance right here, trying to flip that level into support. Don't mind my Picasso drawing over here. But the fact that we're trying to use this key point of support right here to find some support is or this previous point of resistance and trying to find it as support is a good thing, because when we hit this big ass point of support down here, the likelihood is that we're going to hold. Same with Render. You can look at Render. It came right down to our breakdown target that we talked about in yesterday's video and is now trying to use that to retest back to the upside. Render possibly could make that move to the upside that we spoke about, obviously putting these buys that we did down here extremely strong into profit. So Render's another one holding support well. Looking at something like Hedera, obviously came back down, previous point of liquidity, trying to find that level of support, continue upwards. Beautiful. Ethereum, boom, hit the 618 to 786 level of support, immediately trying to use that to create a double bottom. Beautiful. These are the types of things I'm talking about. Although the market is pulling back and although the market has been falling, we are starting to see the bulls stepping in where they need to, and that is an absolutely fantastic sign across all of crypto, and it further confirms to me that this is just a normal pullback and cool down that eventually will lead us to an upside move. Now, Outside of the top 10, we are seeing some pretty interesting movements happen. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit. Let me tell you about a couple of the things that I have been doing outside of the top 10, more towards the meme coins, private sales, pre-sales, etc. Now, I actually did just recently invest into a new company called Croak. This one is currently sitting right around a $2 million market cap, and they're in that sweet spot for me. It's like they're in that little zone that I like to invest in. You guys know I get a little bit wary about investing into companies whenever they just launched, right? Because you just never know when this pump is going to end. And say, for example, if I'd have just caught wind of this thing right here, I probably wouldn't have taken profits here before this pullback. Whereas I like to invest into these things during these little pullbacks when volume kind of stabilizes a little bit, because it gives me a clear picture of how the community is going to perform and if there's a possibility for this thing to continue upwards. So if I'm going to take a speculative bet, I like to take my speculative bets either right when they launch or, of course, after they see this initial pullback. Now, what stood out to me about these guys was the fact that they actually are starting to pair a very successful NFT project over with a brand new meme token. Now, this is the eFrogs collection. This is a collection that they released a good ways back. They have a ton of partnerships with this thing at this point. Linux, Linnea, ZeroLin, Nile, Satoshi Universe, Mindy Finance, and many more. And this thing actually did over $1 million in sales volume and has a huge community, and it's still a growing community even in this market we're in right now. And what they decided to do was to partner this thing up with the Croak token, which of course is the token that we talked about here. Now, this thing, as I mentioned before, is at a $2.27 million market cap, and they have intentions to continuously grow this thing out under the umbrella of the eFrogs collection. I mean, overall, things are pretty simple in terms of a tokenomic perspective. 75% DEX liquidity, 15% towards eFrogs airdrop, which is complete already, 5% the team wallet, 2.5 marketing, 2.5 listing, a super normal, super common, that's good, and no tax, of course, super froggish. And they are just trying to keep this thing as simple as possible while also using it as a kind of another driving tool for the community. And so overall, considering the fact that they have so many partnerships, I'm talking over 10, 15 major partnerships, not only just with eFrogs, but now with Croak, I do think that they have some possibility to see a bit of a reversal at some given point. They're holding volume well, could be a little bit higher, but I do expect now that the market is seemingly turning around a bit, they could start to pick up here. So I did actually add them to my portfolio and add them to the new collection. Now, I am still actually dollar cost averaging into a little bit more daddy token as well. You guys know this is one that we've been talking about on the channel for a while here, and it's just mostly because it's stabilized well, right? Even though volume has dropped off to the $140,000 range, it is still stabilizing and seemingly trying to hold these little liquidity areas. Of course, you can see I'm not a meme coin TA guy. I don't think TA works that well on meme coins, but what you can see is that these two previous points of resistance are being held as support here, and so it is trying to stabilize on top of previous points of liquidity, and that could give it a, that could put it in a position in which it does look for a continuation to the upside here. And so obviously it's purely speculative. It is a $3 million market cap thing, but this thing has been absolutely smashing it. Rodney has been dropping update after update after update. He dropped a 2-minute long video talking about all of the different updates that have come out recently for the daddy token, from partnerships, roadmap things, product deliveries, community, educational content, and more. And so because of that, obviously that is a good thing to keep the community engaged, and they're still actively engaged, right? Dozens of comments, dozens of likes, dozens of retweets, just the things that you like to see and need to see from a token, especially at this phase of the market.